Good evening. I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Stillwater Planning Commission of May 4th, 2021. I think we have all the members visible. So do we need to do a roll call of the board before we begin? Not look like anything, so I guess we'll be okay.
Well, we can do a roll call real quick, Chair, if you'd like.
It's always, I think it's great if we could just do that, make sure they're here.
Yes, sir. Brad Rickleman.
Here.
Jana Phillips.
Here.
Mike Shanahan.
Present.
Brett Allred.
Here.
Preston Bobo.
All right.
I am not seeing Preston.
Correct. I think we have 4 this evening. Well, I'll call to order. I'll briefly explain the format. We'll call for items on the agenda. The commission will hear staff report first, and then open public hearing and hear from those in favor or opposition. If you want to speak, please unmute yourself and give your name and address for the record. After all parties have spoken, the public hearing will be closed. We'll hear closing remarks and alternatives. The first item we have on our agenda tonight is JJP Aircraft LLC in care of Jimmy Hill, map amendment MA 21-01, requesting review and approval of a map amendment to rezone from current RTM Residential 2 Multifamily District, RSS Residential Single Family Small Lot District at property addressed as 102 East Tyler Avenue. Staff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission. Brian Harkins, Community Development. This is a map amendment request, as mentioned, to rezone property at 102 East Tyler. The subject property is here in the hashed pattern. You can see Main, Lewis, and Tyler. This is just off, again, as you see it, off the intersection of Main and Tyler. Members of the commission with a longer tenure than some of the newer members may recognize the development south of the hatch pattern for the subject property. This was a single family redevelopment that took place within the last 2 years, known as the Sticks subdivision. So this would be just north of that across the street. The aerial here gives you an indication looking north along Main on the subject property, which is inside the yellow polygon. It's vacant currently. At one time, the property had been utilized along with the house to the west, right at the intersection, but the property is being looked at by the owner to be sold separately for an additional residential development. Zoning map here again highlights the subject property in question, as well as the RSS zoning to the south, and then RTM zoning surrounding it on the east, north, and west sides. You'll also see RSS farther to the west. You'll see some commercial development zoning, as well as RTM immediately across the street and at the intersection as well. The future land use map indicates a mix of residential development in this part of the community. Right now, there is a trend toward redeveloping lower density single family residential. However, the future land use map calls for potentially for a mix of low and high density residential development. With that said, any questions staff can answer at this point? All right, I do believe the applicant's agent is here in attendance to answer any other questions you might have.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. I will now open the public hearing. Those wishing to speak in favor, please unmute and give your name and address for the record. I believe the agent and or someone for the applicant is available.
Mr. Hill, you need to unmute.
There we go. How's that?
Perfect. Thank you, sir.
I'm Jimmy Hill, 2700 Southwestern, representing the owner. And as has already been indicated, his desire is to build a single family residence on this property, therefore requesting the RSS zoning. It is adjacent, as was pointed out by staff, adjacent to RSS across the street to the south. And we feel would be compatible with other development in the area. I'll try to answer any question that you may have concerning the request. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Are there questions from Commissioner? Well, looks like you.
Chair
Oh,
Rickleman, I would
yes.
like to recognize that Commissioner Bobo has joined us at 5:36, please.
Wonderful. Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you. We're just on the beginning on our first item on the agenda, so welcome. Are there any questions? I don't believe there are any questions that I saw. Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of the proposal, please unmute, raise your hand. Seeing none, anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the item, please make yourself known. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and ask for staff's recommendation.
So at this time, the Land Development Code does allow for rezoning through map amendments. As mentioned, RSS is adjacent to the subject property. You can see that to the south. The map amendment would allow for the additional single-family dwelling within the parameters of the Development Code, particularly the RSS zoning district. The map amendment would also help allow for development in compliant not only with the bulk standards, but with other aspects of the Land Development Code as well. While the comp plan does call for a mixture of low density and high density residential in this area, again, as we mentioned before, the recent trend has been for more of the lower density, single family, conventional, detached development, particularly across the street to the south. With that said, in the findings, the alternatives that you have at your disposal are to A, accept findings and recommend approval as presented. You can find the request is not appropriate and recommend denial. Or if you feel additional information is needed or that additional discussion is warranted, you can table the item to a date certain. With that said, any questions about findings or alternatives?
Questions from commissioners? Does not look to be. Discussion. Commissioners' discussion.
I'll just make a comment if I can. I'm certainly in favor of infill housing such as this, but just as a comment I made when we had the Sticks development under consideration, the roads in this immediate area and around the Sticks are in very poor condition. And this additional construction activity and eventually the additional vehicular traffic is just going to deteriorate even more. That's certainly not the responsibility of the developer, but I just want to note that as an issue I have with this in the context of this development.
Other comments? Do we have a motion or one of the options or alternatives?
Mr. Chair, I would move approval to accept findings and recommend the City Council approve the proposed map amendment as presented.
Okay. We have a second.
And second that.
Oh, okay. It has been moved and seconded that we accept staff findings, and recommend approval. We will now vote.
Chair Rickelman,
Yes.
Vice Chair Phillips,
Yes.
Commissioner Shanahan,
Yes.
Commissioner Allred,
Yes.
Commissioner Bobo.
Yes.
The motion to approve passes 5-0.
The motion passes 5-0. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is miscellaneous items from staff, commissioners, or attorney for discussion and possible action. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Without objection, move to adjourn.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that we adjourn. We'll now vote.
Chair Rickelman,
Yes.
Vice Chair Phillips,
Yes.
Commissioner Shanahan,
Yes.
Commissioner Allred,
Yes.
and Commissioner Bobo.
Yes.
We stand adjourned. However, if I could have just one more moment.
Sure.
I know the next meeting is scheduled for May 18th. As of right now, there are no items. And I would want to advise you that we should be expecting an email notification that our meetings in June will be back in person in chambers.
Excellent. And
Okay.
thank you for that. And Preston, love the shirt.
Yeah.
Got it from every man. I can throw that shout out, I think.
There you go.
There you go. There you go.
All right.
So,
Well, thank you all
Yeah.
very much and have a nice evening.
thank you all. Good night.